So I applied to 16 universities. 16 is, some people say it's a big number, some people say it's not a big number. I thought it was a very big number. Like, my dad had this vision that both our children will settle in the US, and feel like it's working out for now.
So, hi, Dr. Dhiraj Panjwani. Welcome to Odigío's Healthcare Expert Edition. Thank you so much for being here. And it'll be very hard that I'll call you by your name. So, I'm obviously going to go by Dhiraj sir. Just to give you guys a background, he has been my senior in college, and we have been friends for almost 8 years now.
8 years.
8 years. So, yeah. So, thank you for doing this for me. It means a lot to a small business like us. Okay. So,
Means
before we get started, no, you are the celebrity here. हम तो ऐसे ही हैं. ठीक है. So, before we get started, can you just introduce yourself and tell us about yourself?
Yes. Hi guys, I'm Dhiraj Panjwani. I'm a dentist from India, and then now I'm a dentist in the US as well. I'm a Manipal graduate. So I did my undergrad from MCOD's Mangalore. That's where Anayata is from. I'm 1 year senior to her. And in the US, I'm from Tufts University School of Dental Medicine. I graduated May 2022. That's a few months back. And now I'm working as a general dentist in Boston.
Okay, that is, I mean, in such a short time, you've actually got 2 degrees. So touch wood, one first, and second, congratulations. And before we get started, I want to know, how does it feel to be a DMD now?
It feels good. It feels like a big load is off my chest, because a lot of the conversations for the last 5 years were around this conversation, or around this topic where, oh, you're applying for DDS, you're applying for DMD, oh, you're in the program, oh, when you finish, what is your plan? So a lot of it was surrounding that, and now that that's behind me and I can focus on what's next, that feels good. But I mean, the journey was great. Obviously had its ups and downs, as they say, ups and downs. But all in all, I feel like I feel like it was fruitful in the end.
That is good to know, and I think yahi hona chahiye. If you're going ahead for another degree, you should feel satisfied with what you've done. So that's a great thing that you are in that space right now. Okay, yeah. So the next thing that everybody wants to know is, why should you choose to do DDS DMD after BDS? Why did you choose it?
Okay, I mean, that again depends totally personally how people feel about this. I, for one, always had this aspiration. You know it. A lot of my friends, everybody knew it. This guy, he wants to go and do DDS or DMD. So first of all, I just want to clarify this: DDS and DMD, they're the same thing. Some universities, after you graduate, give you a DMD. Some of them give you a DDS. I think that's a coast to coast thing. I'm on the East Coast of the United States. I think the East Coast gives you a DMD versus I think the West Coast gives you a DDS. I'm not entirely sure how they differentiate it, but it's the same degree. You are qualified to do the same things. Now that that's out of the way, why I chose to do DDS or DMD in the United States is because, first of all, my brother, he had moved to the US in 2015, and I feel like he was a big inspiration for me to move here. Obviously, my parents, like my dad, had this vision that both our children will settle in the US, and feel like it's working out for now. So I'm happy about it. But that's on a personal level, and I feel like everybody has their own personal story. Professionally, I feel like the US gives you a lot of opportunities once you're a DMD, in terms of clinics, in terms of academics, in terms of research. Gives you, I mean, I think sky is the limit. If you want to just be in clinical practice, you can own multiple practices and then excel in that field. For me personally, it's a blend of a couple of things. It's academics, with clinical dentistry. And I feel like since US is the is the leader, it's in the forefront. It's a lot of cutting edge technology here, cutting edge dentistry, digital dentistry. A lot of new things are starting to develop in this part of the world. I feel this is a great place to be, if you're interested in academics, and along with that clinical dentistry as well. At this point, I am working 5 days a week. I'm in a private practice, but my long-term goal is definitely to have a balance of academics and clinical dentistry. So that's my story. That's why I decided to get to the US. And I know a lot of people who have different different goals. So yeah, I mean, it totally depends on you. Overall, I feel like it's just a better work-life balance here. I mean, I've seen back in India. I mean, my dad's a doctor himself, so I think the work-life balance, I wouldn't say is extremely different. It's just like there are boundaries, and you can after a point say like, okay, you know what, this is my time, my personal time. I can be by myself. So those things add up. But I feel like all in all, professionally, it gives you a big leap, and you can excel in whatever you try to do.
That makes sense. I mean, even though you are a doctor and everybody tells you that you're supposed to work 24/7, but having a work-life balance is something which is very important in the long run, at least. And as of what you said, you get a taste of the future of dentistry, I feel,
Right.
being there. So yeah, that's a good decision, and I think aspiring candidates can keep that in mind while they're planning to move abroad.
Yeah, and not to because we read so many textbooks, we read so many research articles where I'm just giving an example, University of Pennsylvania, NYU, you read such big names and you're like, oh, you know what, these guys are doing some cutting edge work, and I want to maybe I want to do that as well, or I want to learn over there. So I mean, there are a lot of avenues. Once you're in the field here, you can just branch out and get wherever you want.
So moving on, what people or aspiring candidates want to know is, how did you go about choosing your course in college? What should they look for in a course in college?
Okay, so course is a simple answer. Course is because I always wanted to be a dentist here. So when you think of dentist, you think of DDS or DMD. Again, same thing. That's why I'm interchanging them. But course was simple because I wanted to be a dentist. College, I mean, that's a little longer, the answer. So I applied to 16 universities. 16 is, some people say it's a big number, some people say it's not a big number. I thought it was a very big number because to keep track of 16 different applications and then supplemental applications and all of that, that's a big task in itself. So I applied to 16 universities in total, and I got an interview from 2 of them, right? And I got accepted at 2 of them. So I didn't have a very big decision on my in my hands. Am I thinking of this university, am I thinking of that university? I just had 2 universities to consider, and the choice was rather simple because both of them were offering me the same things. They were like, and the duration of the course was also the same. It was 2.5 years. The biggest difference between both of them, two big differences between those 2 universities, was one of them was in New York, the other one was in Boston. And the one in New York was considerably more more expensive as compared to the one in Boston. So I mean, the decision was then came down to, oh, you know what, since you're doing dentistry for the second time, what do you want? Do you want to spend more? Do you want to spend less? So it boils down to, at the end of it boils down to that. And that's what happened for me. But I know a lot of people who had many things to consider, and I'm pretty sure people listening to this or watching this um, have different situations, different situations that they're in. I have had classmates who moved with family, who moved with newborns, who've who have fiancés or partners in the same city, in a different state, different city, different country. So a lot of it goes down to that. Do you want to be closer to your family? Do you want to do you want to be where you do your DDS? So I finished my DMD from Boston, and I am in Boston right now. So it just worked out organically for me, because I like Boston, and I decided to stay back because I didn't have any other things pulling me to another city or to another state. But there are a lot of people who apply who've got families, and they have to think about those things as well. So at the end of it, it all comes down to what works out the best for you, and what at the end of it, it's all pros and cons. You have to have a chart. You have to be like, okay, this university is offering me this, but it's in another state. This university is maybe not offering me what I want, but it's also closer to where my family is. So it's your priorities and what you feel like you need to do at that point of time. You can't go wrong with any decision, in all honesty, because the end goal is to get a DDS or a DMD. And a lot of people, I feel like, in the process of it, maybe forget about the end goal. It's definitely, like, the journey is very important, but the end goal is what you've started out to achieve. So I feel like you can't go wrong in that decision. You can't go wrong when you're choosing between two universities, because at the end of it, you are going to get out of it. You are going to excel in whatever you do, and you are going to be a practicing dentist after it. So yeah, that's what I did.
That I have two more questions branching out from your answer because I'm really like interested to know. So I want to know what are the supplemental applications that you just said, because people know, like I want to know what's the procedure of applying as well. Matlab, just so that our applicants, aspiring applicants can know.
Yeah. So for to apply as an international dentist, to study or to get into a DMD or a DDS program in the US, you have to apply through a central application portal that's called CAPIT. That's where I want to say 95% of the universities are listed, and that's where you apply. So you put in all your information, you put in your um, credentials, your GPA, your letters of rec, your personal statement. Everything goes on that portal, and then it gets to all universities that you apply to. And then each university has their own supplemental application, right? So let's say you want to apply to maybe UCLA, right? So you go to UCLA's website, and they have, okay, so now you're applying to the international program. This is your supplemental application, and this is what we need. And that's where you apply for the supplemental application as well. So most universities, I don't know if all of them have it or not, because I didn't apply to all of them. And over the last 4 years or 5 years, things have changed a lot. But back when I was applying to the 16 universities that I applied, all of them had supplemental applications along with the main CAPIT application. And obviously there's a fee for the main application that's through CAPIT, and then there's a supplemental application fee that goes directly to the university. So that's what I remember. That's what I had to do. But again, things might have changed a little bit in the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay, that makes sense. Apart from that, another thing that I wanted out of your answer I picked up was, like you said, I think you were probably the youngest in your batch. Is that correct? Okay.
That is
So, so what I want to know is, see, you were with people who had, they might not be from the same field, but on an like age-wise level, they were more they were ahead of you. Was it ever a is it ever a challenge for, because in India what's going to happen is everybody is directly getting out. So the moment you're getting out, you're trying to go when you're between your 25 to 30. Let's just say ki 30 tak bhi people are applying. So is it
Right.
a bit challenging to be the youngest there, or is it an advantage?
It's definitely both, and I don't want to sound like a victim. I mean, it's great being the youngest. To get accepted is great, because everybody's looking at you and being like, oh, you've got a lot of years ahead of you. But at the same time, it is a challenge, definitely, because sometimes people don't take you seriously, because of your age. When I was interviewing, I was 23, because that was, I had just graduated, and most of us, in India, we graduate at the age of 22, 23, and luckily I got an interview the same year. So I was 23 when I interviewed. My program director didn't know what to make of that. So he was shocked. He didn't know what to make of that. And then when I started my course, I was 24. And yeah, sometimes what happens is people don't take you seriously because they're like, oh, this guy's not seen the world. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. So a lot of it depends on how you manage things. After a point, things stopped affecting me. I didn't take it to heart. I only took it as a compliment. I only took it as a compliment after that, because that's what I needed to believe, that this is something, that people are saying, because it's something that not a lot of people have achieved. So I was just taking it in a positive sense. I don't want to sound arrogant as well, but I was taking it in a positive sense. But yeah, that brings a lot of perspective, because like my oldest classmate was probably 48, had a family, and had left his family back from where they were, and then he had moved to Boston. And then I think the average age of my class was 31 or 32. Most of my classmates were married. Some of them had kids. So it brings a lot of perspective, because then you're like, oh, you know what, if these people, if my classmates are doing all of this with families and with partners in different parts of the world, different parts of the country, and if they can manage, and they're doing it without blinking an eye, then why can't you, right? So yeah, so that, I think, that drove me, more than anything. It just made me feel like, oh, you know what, I think this is a great opportunity to be in a place where people are from different backgrounds, different age groups, different cultures, and still are in the same place as I am. So that helped a lot. Another thing to add to that um, is that, yeah, I mean, a lot, as you're obviously, as we graduate in India, I think there's a lot of pressure surrounding us, because a lot of our classmates are applying for MDS. They're giving their NEET exams, and for us, it's a lot has to do. Okay, now you've done your BDS. What's your next goal? What's your next goal? And what's your next goal? We do believe in thinking about what's forward and what's next, but we don't sit down and process what we've actually achieved. So yeah, so I feel like, even if it's taking longer, like if you feel like, oh, you know what, I'm all my classmates or all my friends from back in dental school have gotten to a point where they're practicing, and they have their own clinics, and they're maybe in academics or something. It's a different story for everybody, and that's all I can say. We just have a lot of additional pressure, because a lot of pressure is surrounding us. But coming here, seeing, looking at my classmates, seeing what their backgrounds were, I felt a little calmer after that. And yeah, and then things just work out eventually. I think things work out for the better.
I think that's one of the best. What I felt via what you just told us is that it's how you take it mainly, because I'm pretty sure not everybody. So I think you had a good approach to tackle what you were going through. So that's something which helped you. Okay, so my next question was about is it worth doing a DDS or DMD after BDS? But you've answered that a lot. So if you would still like to give us some insight on it, it would be great.
I'll just keep it short. I think it is definitely worth it. Feel like I'm saying this a lot, but a lot of it depends on personal experience and personal perspectives. Yeah, it is definitely worth it. Purely from a financial standpoint, yeah, the return on investment is great if that's what people care about. If that's what you want to hear. Again, I'm just starting out. I've probably been at my practice for the last 2.5 months. So yeah, but it's worth it. Yeah. That's my answer to that question.
Yes, a lot of people want to know financially, will it be fruitful? Because that is a big step, yeah. No matter who's paying for it, be it, let's say, for example, someone's parents can pay for it. Let's say, for example, a student is taking a loan. It is still something which is a huge deal to consider because it's not a small amount. So that is one thing which people definitely want to know. We'll talk more about that later. Um, okay, so the next thing, that this is a very common question, it's there on the internet, but I still want your take on it as to what exams did you give and how did you prepare for it? Did you take some classes? Did you do self-preparation? What did you do?
Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of talk about this, and I feel like the simpler you keep it, the better it is. Luckily I had a senior who was guiding me through it. I had a couple of classmates who were actually a few classmates who were also giving the same exam. So we had like a group. People were doing the same things, and it helped. It helped a lot. So yeah, so back when I was applying and back when I took my exams, there was NBDE Part 1. That's the National Board of Dental Examination. National Board of Dental Examination Part 1 and Part 2. But right now it's all combined. So it's INBDE, that's Integrated National Board of Dental Examination. So I can only speak from personal experience. Part 1 was all basic sciences. Part 2 was all dental subjects plus pharmac. So that's what the exams I took. For Part 1 I took close to 3.5 to 4 months to prepare. Depends on how strong your basic sciences are. It's all microbiology, biochemistry, anatomy, and whatnot. So it took me some time to prepare for that. And then Part 2, I think I took 2.5 to 3 months to prepare for that. For Part 1, so most of the study material, like the books and the study material that was pretty similar. So for Part 1, I used a book that's called First Aid, and then there were the dental decks, and there was a book called Dentin. These three, and then there were a lot of ASDA, that's the American Student Dental Association question banks, that I solved, and there were remembered questions. There's a lot of Facebook groups that have remembered questions posted on them, so that's a very helpful resource. A lot of YouTube videos that you can watch to strengthen your basics and to understand the examination process. And there's a dental app, there's an NBD app. Obviously it's a paid, you have to pay for that app, but if you are willing to take that step, definitely do it. It's a very, very good resource. Yeah, so that was for Part 1. Mostly the same things for Part 2, all the same things that I mentioned. I don't think I changed anything for Part 2. It's just that because it was 2 parts, I had a better understanding during Part 2, how I wanted to prepare for it. But unfortunately, I don't have a lot of information about INBDE. From what I hear, it's the curriculum is the same, and from what I hear, it's a better thing because let's say you're not very strong. For example, I wasn't very strong in microbiology, and if you're not very strong in microbiology or biochem or something like that, and you're like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to not take it too seriously. there might not be a lot of questions from that subject, because I think they've got like 19 or 20 subjects to cover in that one exam. So I think it's better than part one and part two. That's what I hear. So that's about it. The NBD, it's a pass and fail exam. You just have to clear it. You just have to get a pass on it. And it's more like a stepping stone than it's more like a requirement than than something that might make your application better or not. Yeah. So that was that. And then I took the TOEFL, which was mandatory. And back when I took it, it was 120 marks. I think it's still the same: reading, writing, listening, speaking. Yeah, so for that I use there's ETS. That's the main website. That's the main examining body for TOEFL. They have a lot of sample question papers and sample tests. Then there's Kaplan. I didn't use Kaplan a lot. There's Manhattan. I didn't use Manhattan a lot either. I used a website called Noteful. A friend of mine who took TOEFL, he suggested that to me. It's got a paid version, and back in the day it had a free version as well. So suit yourself, however you want to go about it. I took a week to prepare for TOEFL. And yeah, it's TOEFL is not a lot about it's definitely an English exam. It's not a lot about English. It's more about your time preparation, time management, and how you tackle those time bound questions. So yeah, so those two exams. A lot of people also take ADAT. That's the I can't remember what the full form of ADAT is, but a lot of people take ADAT. I think a couple of universities prefer if you take ADAT. I didn't take it, so I can't help you with the ADAT information a lot.
But you've still helped us with a lot of information. So I think that was something pretty useful, even though I don't want to give the exam, but now I know everything.
I feel like we've covered most of the things that need to be covered. Just a few additional things that I remember when I was applying. So I just wanted to lay it out. And then if this is an abundance of information, will just don't settle in the US. Listen to all of it. Just listen to it part by part. So number one is definitely make a spreadsheet, a detailed spreadsheet on Excel, Google spreadsheet, whatever works for you, of the universities that you're planning to apply to and what the requirements are. So let's say a particular university needs a TOEFL score of, let's say, 100 plus. Mention that in your spreadsheet. That's what I did. So, and that was helpful. Somebody asked me to do it. So, somebody recommended that I did it. So I did it. 100 plus in TOEFL, mention that on your application, because there's so much information about so many universities that some things can just slip through the cracks, and some things might be important. So just maintain like a detailed spreadsheet of the tiniest of details that you think the university needs, and as big as what the application fees is, to as little as what size picture they need of you, right? So just put whatever information there is on a spreadsheet. That helps. Letters of recommendation, that's a very popular question that I had, and that a lot of people have asked me also. Letters of recommendation, a dean's letter of recommendation from your BDS university, even if you've done an MDS, but your BDS university is mandatory, it's a must. So definitely ask for that. I took 6 letters of recommendations from my faculty members, and then when I got to the US, I got 2 more. One from a dentist who I was shadowing, and one from a dentist who I was working for as a dental assistant. So all in all, 7 or 8 letters of recommendation. But I took 6 from my university. So just have extras. On Capit, I think when I was applying, you had to upload 3 of them, of which one had to be a dean's letter of recommendation. So 2 additional. I just took extras. Always better to have extra letters of recommendation. The other thing is transcripts. You need to have your when I said GPA before, we don't function in GPAs in India. We obviously function in marks and percentage, but here they function in GPA in the US. So you need to get your transcripts. You need to get your mark sheets first converted to transcripts at your university. And then those transcripts need to be converted to GPAs that can be done through ECE or WES. These are two main companies that the universities use, and they will specify on their website or on their application details if they need an ECE or a WES transcript. Just make a note of that. Get those done as soon as possible or as soon as you decide to apply. Next, invest in a good bench test course, because a lot of the universities ask for bench tests in their once you apply, once they call you for an interview, a lot of them have bench tests as a part of their interview. So invest in a good bench test course. I did one in LA. It was called Duggan. There's another one in LA that's called Stevenson. There's a couple in India. I know one in Chandigarh. A couple of friends of mine did a bench test course in Chandigarh. Uh, Take that extra step, pay that extra money, just do it, because it will help you. It will help you in the long run. It will help you. They will just prepare you for a bench test. They may not teach you clinical dentistry, but they will teach you what is required to clear a bench test exam. So definitely do that. I think Logan agrees with me. And yeah, that's it. And then finally, just talk to people who are in the same situation as you are, who've done this before you. Try to surround yourself with positive people. Try to just keep going. It can be a long process. It can be a tough one, but I feel like in the end, it's worth it. Talk to a lot of people. Then there will be a few people who will demean you a little bit, but keep them to the side. Just try to surround yourself with positive people who have either done this already or who are in the same situation as you are. Yeah, that's it. Those are my additional pointers.
I think those were very, very good pointers which need to be out there, because now you've literally given away everything. So I hope this really helps. So the next question that people always have in their mind, yeah, aspirants always have in their mind, is how do they build their profile for, applying outside? Do you have any
That
tips
both our
for them
children
or
will
something?
settle in the US. Yeah, I mean, I think tips is a strong word, but yeah, I can give I can tell you what I did, because so I can break this down to into two parts. One is if you're thinking of applying when you're still in college, when you're still either doing a BDS or an MDS, versus when you're thinking of applying when you've graduated. So when you're applying, let's say when you're in BDS and you're thinking of applying, you have a lot of opportunities. Okay, I think the number of opportunities, they don't present themselves again. There's research opportunities, there's volunteering, there's extracurriculars, there's academics, there's a lot that you can do, right? So on a personal level, what I did was, I wasn't the strongest in my academics. I just tried to maintain my grades. I just tried to maintain what I was doing. You don't have to be in the top 1%, top 10% of your class. You just have to have a respectable GPA. I don't know. Some people say, oh, universities look at a GPA above 3.2, or a GPA above 3.4, or a GPA above 3. I don't know. Just have a respectable GPA, just have a respectable grades. That's number one. Number two is, let's say you want to strengthen your profile, a lot of extracurriculars, like you know, of all people, we immersed ourselves in extracurriculars, because we felt, oh, that's where we have most opportunities. So we immersed ourselves in extracurriculars. We were presidents of our respective classes, like our respective councils. So yeah, do as many extracurriculars as you can, inter college, inter university, inter class. All these things matter at some point or the other. It shows a well-rounded application, shows a well-rounded person. The next thing is research. I also, when I started thinking seriously about applying, I did approach my mentor for a couple of research projects. turned out to be 3 research projects towards the end of college. Managed to publish 2 of them, so that's good. All these things add up to to make your profile of a respectable profile. And volunteering, volunteering goes a long way. We had in our college, we were lucky to have institutions like Disha and Vaksha who gave us the opportunity to volunteer and to help out the needy people. And so just try doing different things, try striking the right balance. Academics obviously matters the most because you want to have a clean slate on your academics. You don't want to show them that, oh, you know what, your grades fluctuated a little bit because of your extracurriculars or because of your research. Academics are obviously the main point that they're looking at, but also definitely build your application, definitely build your profile in these manners. So this is if you're still in college, if you're still doing a BDS or an MDS. Let's say you've gotten out and you're working. Work experience matters a lot. I think this is a very underrated thing to say, but work experience matters a lot. I've had a classmate, very close friend of mine, did his BDS, worked in India for 8 years, didn't have anything else. He just worked in a private practice for 8 years, and first application cycle got into a university. So work experience matters a lot because they know that if you worked for so long, and if even after that you're still committing to such a gruesome program or such a gruesome application process, that means you're actually serious of doing this and you want to be here. So work experience matters a lot. Again, try branching out, even if you're in a practice, in a private practice, try branching out. Just try and see what you can do if you graduated. But yeah, I mean, volunteering even then can be possible. I mean, extracurriculars might not, but just try to be involved as much as you can. Just try to make a well-rounded profile. That's what I would say.
Okay. I think that is a very good, this was a tip, to be honest. So I think that was something which people, because it's not, I feel outside, it's not just about your academics only. It's about, having a lot of other things to show how proactive you are. So that's one thing which is a good thing that people can incorporate in their profiles. My next question was going to be about work experience itself, but you answered that, so thank you.
But I just have one more
yeah.
thing. Sorry to cut.
Yeah,
I just have one more thing to add to that is, let's say you're still in college, or let's say you've graduated and you're working in private practice or in academics. CDE courses help a lot, showing that you're still ready to learn, you're still eager to learn, you're trying to learn new things. They look at that, they look at those things in your profile, and they're like, okay, this person is still eager to learn. Poster and paper presentations when you're in college and when you've graduated, and if you have some clinical cases to present in let's say a state conference or a national conference or an international conference, those things go a long way, because not everybody is able to present, not everybody has the work to present. Even if you've graduated and if you have the clinical cases to present, please go ahead and do that. Anything that you do out of the box, out of the ordinary, it helps you, it works in your favor.
Okay, that's something that you answered my next question as well, as to if there are any research requirements. Another thing, let's say for example, if someone's not really into research, someone has not done research, will it not weaken their applications?
No, I wouldn't say it would weaken their application. There's a lot of talk around this. I mean, even when I was applying, there was so much talk about, oh, if I don't have a research, I don't have a publication, I don't have papers, I don't have posters that are presented, what are my chances? I don't think they weaken your chance. It's just that if you don't have that aspect in your application, just try to work around it. Just try to have something in your application that shows you're a well-rounded person. You have a well-rounded application. Research is just one way of building your application. Again, as I said, extracurriculars, volunteering, CD courses, shadowing, dental practices. If you plan to come to the US, you can come shadow dental practices in the US. You can shadow universities, like you can shadow dental curriculums in the US. So all that adds a lot. So I wouldn't say research is a mandatory thing to have on your application. It just adds that extra layer. But again, if you can manage to make your application a competitive one without research, definitely do it.
Understood. Got it. Okay. Apart from that, I think that is roughly we've covered almost everything that we need for understanding the application process and how your journey went
That
through.
both our children will
Another
settle in the
biggest
US.
one of the biggest questions that people have is how do they manage finances? How did you manage your finances? And again, is there something which you would like to tell people to keep in mind about the financial aspect of it?
Yes, definitely. The application process from start to finish is no joke. People look at the cost or the tuition fees for DDS, and they don't take into consideration, the applications also cost a lot. So when I say from start to finish, I do mean when you're starting your application process to the end of your DMD or your DDS. That's what we're talking about. It's not cheap, and there's no kidding, there's no joking around that. It's not cheap. It is an expensive affair. So when you're getting into the process of thinking about a DMD or a DDS, or you're thinking about starting to apply, you have to have that at the back of your head, that okay, you know what, my family can help me out with this, or you know what, I'm ready to take loans in order to fulfill this path or this dream of mine. So my application process, I managed myself. I was working as a dental assistant. Obviously, I had assistance from my parents, from my brother. I also tried to chip in as much as I can when I was working as a dental assistant. But my DDS, all like DMD, all through my 2.5 years, I was on a loan, on a student loan. Obviously, it's again, it's a personal choice. If you think you and your family can manage those expenses without taking a loan, by all means do it. That's if you're comfortable doing that, you should do it. Because obviously paying off loans is not the best thing to do. Obviously, we as Indians, we don't think taking loans is the best thing to do, but the culture here in the West, the culture in the US, makes you do it. They do prefer if you take loans, because that builds your credit history and all of that. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know many details about it, but yeah, I did take a loan. I had classmates who didn't take loans at all, or who took loans for their academic section, but for their living expenses they managed on their own. So a lot of things can be done. You can you can work as a teaching assistant at your university. You can work as a dental assistant if you can get licensed. When you're in school, you can work as a dental hygienist if you can get licensed when you're in dental school. All these avenues are possible, but again, you can't forget that the main reason why you're here is to get that DMD. In my opinion, nothing should compromise that. And if that means taking a loan or paying a little more at this point, and sacrificing working, working a side job or something, that's fine. As long as you're getting what you're achieving what you're set out to do. So yeah, so that's what I did. But yeah, I mean, taking a student loan or a personal loan is definitely something that a lot of people do. People also pay out of pocket, so whatever works for you.
That makes sense. That does make sense, because another thing which I see, that I know that people, when they go abroad, they do a lot of part-time jobs, but then the feasibility of doing it with a DDS DMD course, I think, is a bit. It would be very taxing. I mean, as long as the person is able to maintain a balance, good enough. But like you said, I think getting a loan, paying it off while you're at the job would be a more feasible option.
Right.
Um,
This is a full-time course. It's not a 2-day or a 3-day course,
mm,
and then you're free for the rest of the week. You are actively busy, if not 5, at least, if not 5, 6 days of the week, you are busy or doing stuff. You know, if you can manage to get a side job and still manage well in your academics, great, go for it. All the power to you. If not, don't stress about it. Getting your DMD, getting through the course is obviously our first priority at this point.
definitely. Um, Apart from that, um, like one question which people have most often is, at the end of the day, we are doing degrees to get a good job, a stable job. So how did you manage to find a job? And where are you? You've already told us where you're currently practicing, but if you could just elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure. So, looking for a job, once so a lot of okay, let's put it this way. A lot of the dental DSOs, they call them DSOs here. The dental chains, like your Aspen Dental or Gentle Dental, all these chains will approach you through the university right from year one, right? They know you're in this program, they know you're going to graduate, and they know that you will look for a job as soon as you graduate or even before you graduate. They know that you're a fresh grad, so they will reach out to you themselves. Um, so that's so definitely networking at school helps. If you decide to stay back in the same city as your school, like I did, I was in Boston, I stayed back in Boston. Reaching out to faculty members helps a lot, because most faculty members do have private practices or work at private practices, and they can refer you, if not at their own private practice, they can refer you out and they can help you with that. So that's what I did. I reached out to a lot of my faculty members and asked them to help me if possible with that. As I said, the dental chains, the DSOs, they have a lot of networking events. They have a lot of lunch and learns, and they have dinners that they host, where you can go and network and ask about jobs. If you don't plan to stay in the same city, if you do plan to move out and go elsewhere, there's a lot of online portals. There's indeed.com, there's jobs.com, there's LinkedIn, where you can reach out. And it's so, like, from what I've heard, the dental family, the fraternity here is a small one. It's not a very big fraternity. People know people around here. So even if you're in Boston but you want to work in Pennsylvania, somebody will know somebody in Pennsylvania who's looking to hire an associate dentist. So there's always that networking that helps you. Yeah, I feel like my biggest takeaway here when I was in school was to network. We feel a little restricted. We feel, at least me personally, I felt a little restricted. I felt a little odd asking for a job, or ask, just network with people, because I feel like it's an awkward situation to be in. But at the same time, you have to ask for what you believe in. You have to ask for a job because you obviously want to work after you've graduated. So there's nothing to be awkward about. It just took me some time to get used to that fact. But once that was done, yeah, then I interviewed at a bunch of places. I think I interviewed close to 6 or 7 places, and then I finally started working with the place that I am currently. And I also feel like a lot of people, like, I was having this discussion with a friend of mine, and a lot of people, like a lot of us who are graduating and are starting a job, we try to romanticize the concept of having a perfect job right in the beginning. And that's not always possible. I don't think that's possible, because if you don't start somewhere, you don't know what you like and you don't know what you don't like, or you're not comfortable with. So the main point is to start. Obviously, don't take a job where you're definitely not comfortable. Do your due diligence. Obviously, ask for all the numbers, ask for what kind of procedures they're doing, ask for what kind of patient base they have, if they're busy enough or not, all those things. That can be a separate podcast altogether, but ask for all those things. And if your gut feeling says, okay, you know what, I feel like I can start here, definitely, like, go for it. Don't overthink it. Don't I want my first job to be my perfect job. I don't know if that happens a lot, but yeah, you just have to start working and then see what you like and what you don't like. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what I did personally. Yeah, but if you have any family friends, or if you have connections in the dental field, if you know somebody who's looking for an associate dentist, just reach out to them and be like, you know what, I'm graduating, I'm looking for a job. Are you hiring, or do you know somebody who's hiring? Just reach out. More often than not, you will get a positive response.
Okay, that is something which I tell my clients day in and day out. That networking, I feel no matter what part of the world you're in, at the end of the day, there are a lot less jobs and a lot more people. So you have to put that front out that, you're looking for a job. And I feel at this age and day, and especially when you're in a private sector, networking is the only thing that can get you a job. That is something, so that is my mool mantra for Odigío also as
Definitely.
well.
And I feel we've had so many conversations about this in the past also, like you and I.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what you've always told me. Just go out and reach out
Correct.
to these people. And the worst they can do is say no, right? That's the
Exactly.
worst they will do. So
Correct.
I feel like there's this wall in front of a lot of us that we just have to. Obviously, it's easier said than done. But now that I have done that, I feel like slowly and steadily that wall has to come down, and you have to break that wall and just be like, okay, you know what, I am looking for a job.
Yeah.
Do you have a job? Okay. And if you have a job, I would like to interview. That's I think
Correct.
that's how you can start.
But I think that is definitely another podcast. If people actually end up liking this and they want to know more, we can definitely do it, because at the end of the day, whatever course you're doing, whatever masters, whatever bachelors you're doing, at the end of the day, it's about getting a job that
100%.
even if you're a doctor, you are in a noble profession, but you can't carry out the profession till the time you don't have a job. So that is
Right.
something which is definitely there, and we have a new podcast idea as well. So that is done. We will do that soon. Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Dhiraj, for coming to my podcast. It feels very weird calling you Dr. Dhiraj. I've never called him that, guys. I've always called him Dhiraj sir. But okay. So thank you so much. And I
My
hope
pleasure.
that we can do this again, because it was a very fun conversation, and I really, really hope. And more than fun, it was very informative. So it'll be sort of like a bank for people, and they can get to you, understand the concept, and because getting it from the person himself is something which actually helps people more than just reading an article on the internet or watching a YouTube video. So yeah, thank you so much for doing this for us.
My pleasure. And whatever, because I feel like, just to have like a personal touch to this, I feel like I reached out to my seniors, like my seniors when I was applying, and when I was trying, there was a senior who helped me through and through, right? And a lot of people try to help me out. So I feel like the information is there. It's just a little scattered around you, and it can take some time to get that information. So if you and I can be that one point contact or one point information source for people trying to apply, that's great. And there's always information on the internet that you can get. So yeah, I mean, I feel like helping somebody out who's trying to do this, because I've been in that situation. I've looked out for help, and I was lucky enough to get the help. I feel like it's only fair that I give it back to people who are trying to apply.
Definitely. And I really think this will help. Let's see how it goes. So thank you so much.
100%. My pleasure.